We hear the latest news. The world is in trouble. Strange flashes of rabies struck 12 countries and have already reached the west coast of the United States. There are rumors about an unknown virus. Former UN investigator Jerry Lane does not yet know about this. He spends morning with his wife and daughters, taking care not about the news, but about the training camp. The main thing is not to forget the inhaler for one of the daughters. Alas, the trip is not according to plan. The family gets into the cork, police cars pass by, and helicopters fly over their heads. Suddenly, an explosion occurs in the building, and panic begins. People run out of cars and run in a mess. The truck rushes without analyzing the roads, sweeping out both cars and people in its path. Jerry attaches to this truck and breaks out of the cork, but his luck quickly ends. The car gets into an accident. Around, the chaos reigns. Jerry sees one of the madmen bites one person. The victim falls and writhes, but after 12 seconds he jumps up and opens his eyes. They no longer have a human. Finging off the crazy people, Jerry seats his family in someone else's van, and they manage to leave the city. On the way, parents notice that the daughter's inhaler remained in an abandoned car. Meanwhile, Deputy Secretary General of the UN Thierry Umutoni flies over the city. From a helicopter, he sees that Philadelphia is on. He calls Jerry Lane, saying that he should return to the service. He and his family are evacuated from the nearest city. Waiting for evacuation, Jerry is looking for a pharmacy. People seem to have lost their minds. Everyone threatens each other with weapons and engage in looting. But even in this hell, there are those who remained a person. After making sure that Jerry is not a robber, the pharmacist helps him find an inhaler for his daughter. Thierry Umutoni reports that Jerry should get to the outskirts of the city and rise to the roof. They will evacuate him from there. Making his way through the streets, Jerry notices the crowds of zombies attacking people, but one drunken homeless old man remains unnoticed. Having reached the desired building, Jerry barely fights off the zombies. At the last moment, Latin American immigrants help him, who let strangers into their apartment, give food and refuge. The son of a couple, Thomas, calms Jerry's daughters. A man begs a family to leave with him, claiming that movement is life, and this is the only way they can be saved. However, the couple is afraid to leave the apartment. Jerry takes his family and leaves someone else's housing. Thomas's parents lock the door and zombies begin to break. Almost reaching the roof, Jerry is faced with monsters. His life is about to break, but the young Thomas, who is left alone, is saving. Not far from him, as it becomes obviously, his parents died. Jerry gets to the roof and, standing on the edge, is preparing to jump down, counting 12 seconds. The fact is that during a fight, the blood of monsters fell into his mouth, but 12 seconds pass, and Jerry does not turn into zombies. He concludes that the virus is transmitted only through a bite. A helicopter arrives. The soldiers shooting off the monsters evacuate Jerry, his wife, daughters, and Tomas's baby. They are taken to the aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean, where Jerry meets with Thierry Umutoni. He asks an old friend if the disease really struck the whole world. It seems that yes, America has already left without president and government. Chaos reigns everywhere. There is no fuel, weapons, and ammunition. People from the mainland beg for evacuation, but there is nowhere to evacuate. The only hope of the military is a young virus. He noticed that the zombies were first mentioned in a report from South Korea. Perhaps the source of the virus is there. If you can find it, it will be possible to develop a vaccine. A senior military man appears who claims to send a virus to an expedition of one. Madness. He will be accompanied by the military and Jerry Lane, an experienced fighter who survived military operations in Liberia, Chechnya, and Sri Lanka. Jerry agrees, because otherwise he and his family will be sent ashore to the refugee camp. The expedition starts. Jerry asks the virus to whether he believes in the possibility of salvation. He replies that any disease has a weak place and people are stronger than they seem. Sometimes, what looks like weakness can become a strong weapon. The group arrives at the destination. A crowd of zombies immediately attack the military. In the turmoil, the young virologist falls and accidentally shoots into himself. It seems that the expedition can be folded, but Jerry decides to continue the investigation. He interrogates the local military and finds out that he was the first to get a soldier who went away in the local village, from whom he became infected, not to recognize, but the virus quickly spread throughout the base. Introducing the soldier, Jerry recognizes several facts. Firstly, the zombies react most of all to the sound. It is better not to make noise next to the infected people. Secondly, when the infection struck many people, one soldier survived. Jerry talks to him. The lucky man is lame and looks bad. He admits that he felt bad even before the start of the zombie apocalypse. Why the zombies did not attack him, the guy does not know. The same base contains a former CIA employee who has become a war criminal. The man looks completely crazy, but Jerry wants to listen to him. He says that in North Korea, a flash of illness has already crushed, removing their teeth to all citizens. If there are no teeth, there is nothing to bite, and zombies cannot infect other people. Jerry does not believe in this, but the CIA employee does not give up and adds that the only country that managed to close the borders before infection is Israel. Mossad seemed to know about the threat in advance. Jerry decides to fly to Jerusalem, but first you need to season the plane. The soldiers try to get to him as quieter as possible so as not to attract attract the attention of the zombies. But then, his wife calls Jerry. The call attracts the zombie. The fight begins. One of the soldiers bite by the leg. He makes a decision. A bullet is better in the head than turning into a monster. The plane manages to refuel. It takes off, and Jerry goes to Israel. It seems that the madman of the CIA was right. Jerusalem was surrounded by a high wall and protected from monsters. Jerry meets with a representative of Mossad who admits that a week before the pandemic, he intercepted a strange message from India. It said that the Indian army is fighting with certain monsters, Rakshas. The man explains that Jews historically often had to fight for their lives. Therefore, they live by the principle, it is better to play it safe than to miss a real threat. That is why Israel closed the borders before everyone else. Jerry walks along Jerusalem. It is calm and safe here. People have fun in the square, sing and dance. But the noise attracts the whole horde of zombies to the city. The monsters begin to climb each other, and finally, zombies are crossed through one of the walls. Chaos and shootout begins in the city. Jerry with a group of soldiers is trying to get to the airport. He notices how zombies run past a decrepit old man and a young man with a bald head. The young man simply sits down in the middle of the road, as if invisible for monsters. Zombies overtake the Jerry team and bite the girl officer by the hand. Jerry instantly reacts and deprives her of the affected limb. The girl screams with horror. 12 seconds pass, but it does not turn into a monster. The virus did not have time to spread across its body. Jerry takes her and gets to the runway. There they sit on an airplane flying from Jerusalem. While the city below turns into hell, everything is calm on board the plane. Jerry processes the girl's hand and recalls everything that he saw in the last days. How the zombies ignored the homeless drunkard in America, did not touch the sick soldier in South Korea, as well as a decrepit old man and a bald young man in Israel. He also recalls the words of a young virus who said that sometimes a person's weakness is his main power. Jerry calls a friend from the UN and asks to find a laboratory that is still working and can make a vaccine. The aircraft is urgently redirected to the scientific center in the Cardiff. Suddenly, the stewardess notices that someone's dog barks at the baggage compartment door. She opens the door, and from there, the zombie breaks. There is little space and many people in the plane. The virus spreads almost instantly. Having fastened herself and the girl officer to the seats, Jerry pulls out a check from a grenade and throws her into a crowd of zombies. The side of the aircraft explodes. Depressurization occurs and it blows all the monsters from the cabin. The aircraft crashes under the Cardiff. Jerry is seriously wounded and the officer girl helps him get to the city. In the medical center, he is undergoing an operation. He comes to his senses 3 days later and explains to doctors that he needs some dangerous but cured virus. It seems that the zombies do not attack people who are seriously ill. A weak victim is uninteresting to them. Doctors agree to check Jerry's theory, but the necessary pathogens are in another wing where zombies roam. Jerry and volunteer doctors go for a pathogen. 3 of the 4 are returning with nothing, but our hero falls into the desired laboratory. Around it, hundreds of test tubes with dangerous cultures, and the laboratory is already surrounded by monsters. If Jerry wants to get out of here alive, he must inject something dangerous but not fatal. But what? Doctors observe him through cameras, but they cannot tell. The connection is one-sided. Jerry chooses a test tube at random, introduces a pathogen, waiting for a while, and opens the doors of the laboratory. Zombies rush to him, but pass by as if not noticing a person. The man understands that his plan has worked. He goes through the crowd of monsters, like invisible, so that pathogen does not send Jerry to the next world. He is immediately injected with an antidote. This is a victory. Our hero returns to the family. A camouflage vaccine is created around the world. Now the soldiers are invisible to the zombies and can calmly deal with them. We see how in different points in the world they successfully destroy monsters. Yes, this war is just beginning, but now it is clear who will win in it. I also advise you to watch other videos on my channel. Good luck!